It's just been one of those things where I'm like really seeing like, wow, like you really need to stop sleeping on yourself, because everybody else is seeing it but you, and then you mad because you're like, oh, how come I can't grow? I think what I'm realizing is that in my case, or in that case, the barrier to growth isn't because you're not clearly identify your audience or sort of put yourself into this box. I think for some of us, the way that we are meant to grow on social media or to grow our audience, grow our platform is really just, yo, it's your girl Janine St. G, and today I wanted to talk with you about something that I've kind of been struggling with on this journey to a life of maximum fulfillment, and specifically going all in on my content creator dreams. It's something that I feel like I've been working through, and I just wanted to share what I'm learning. So let's start with a little story time, because that's kind of how this whole thing came about. So I think 3 weeks ago, I was invited to an influencer event. There was a panel, there was a woman on the panel, and she was talking about how when you have a really big vision or really big dreams, something specific that you're trying to accomplish, but you feel stuck or stagnant, or you're just like struggling with like really seeing it come to fruition. She said that one of the best questions that you can ask your close people, like your true inner circle, is, where do you see me limiting myself? And I thought that was a super interesting question, but all in all, I left the event and I was super frustrated because just listening to all these like amazing people was great, like just to hear their stories and to hear their perspectives. But part of me felt very much like, I just feel like I'm so behind. Like, I feel like I should be further along in this journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, and specifically, we talked about earlier this year that what I'm really focusing on is getting to the bag, right? Like really seeing this financial abundance, like seeing myself step into that for real, because I know that I can, and I know that it's there for me, right? But still feeling like there's like a gap between me and that, right? So anyway, needless to say, it just like, I don't know, I just felt kind of discouraged after leaving, which, you know, I think maybe the next day I was telling my boyfriend about it, and he was like, I don't understand. You were invited to an influencer event. Why would that make you discouraged? Like, shouldn't that make you excited? Like, isn't it a dope opportunity to like network with people and stuff? And yeah, I didn't want to seem like I was sounding ungrateful. Like, I was really happy that I had been invited. You know, I was able to make some pretty good connections that I'm praying that I'll be able to, you know, leverage, capitalize on, whatever you want to say. But I still had this feeling of like, yeah, but like, why do I still feel this gap? You know? So anyway, you know, I was explaining that to him, and I was like, yeah, that's why I'm frustrated, because I feel like I've gone all in. I'm doing everything I can. I feel like I'm trying so hard and I'm working so hard, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not seeing anything for it, financially specifically. And he was like, okay, well, honestly, if your whole thing is you want to see more money, then you need to be doing more. And at first I took offense to it, because I was like, what do you mean? You think that I'm not working hard enough? Like, I'm not doing enough? And he was like, no, it's not that. It's just to say that like right now you're limiting yourself to one platform. Because right now you're only posting on YouTube. You're posting once a week, and it's great. Like, everything you're posting is great, but like, we need to see more of you. You need to be everywhere. You need to be in everyone's faces. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be on Instagram, on TikTok, on this, on that. And as he said that, I was like, oh my God, overwhelmed. How am I gonna do all of these platforms at once? Especially when God told me to just do this. But it's funny because, you know, he started with that, and he was like, and also I just feel like you're limiting yourself in terms of like what you're sharing of yourself, right? And he was like, there's so many people that's out here doing this content creation thing, right? They are doing it and doing well, and they don't even have much to say. They don't have any soul. They don't have this crazy energy. They're not quirky. You know, they don't have anything of like substance really to share. And he was like, you have all of those things, and we're only seeing a little bit of it on YouTube. Like, we're not getting to see the full picture of you, your essence, like your quirks, you know what I'm saying? Your whole vibe, like the fact that you're funny. Like a lot of people probably don't even know that, right? And I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. And I started to get very uncomfortable because he was right. And the other thing is that it brought me back to what I had realized I wanted to do when I knew that content creation was like where I wanted to go, right? And this is something that I realized I wanted to do even before I had articulated that this was what I was going to do, right? Like, so now, you know, I talk about it like, oh, I'm going all in on my dreams, whatever the case might be. But there was a time when I knew that I wanted to do this, but I never spoke about it. Part of it was that I didn't even know like how it would come about. And this is back in 2012. I had just graduated college and I had started my first personal training job. So 2 quick stories. The first personal training job, the woman that was training me, she was like, you know what, you're never gonna have an issue with having clients. And I was like, oh yes, that's good. Like I got something to tell my Haitian parents so they don't freak out like that I'm doing some crazy useless job or whatever. And she was like, yeah, it's not gonna be because of your training. And I was like, oh wow, okay. She was like, it's really gonna be because of your personality. Like people are going to feel comfortable with you and they're gonna wanna be around you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And that has sort of like followed me through my whole fitness career. Like that what she said was 100% true and was the feedback that I would get from clients like years after that. And essentially what I learned from what she told me was that was something that I wanted to learn how to encapsulate and put into my content so that I could connect with the people that I know that God really wants me to connect with, right? And through this medium, through this vehicle. So everything that my boyfriend was saying was exactly what I knew was like going to be one of, I guess you could say, my challenges on this journey is how do I encapsulate all of me into my content, right? And here's why that's important, and here's why it's been sort of like a learning lesson for me. So it's important because as content creators, like the goal is to grow, especially when you're starting out, right? And obviously, like I'm sure content creators that have grown, they're still looking to grow, but your goals definitely change like on the journey. But in the beginning, when you're looking to like really build that solid base of an audience, of a community, the goal is to grow, baby. That's it, right? Because that's what's gonna help you get to the bag. That's gonna help you monetize, and gonna help you to like fulfill your purpose of having this very specific impact on this community, whatever that might be. So right now, that's the phase that I'm in, right? In this journey is growing. Specifically, I've been focusing on growing on YouTube, but more recently, I've decided to hop back up into Instagram and TikTok because like, yeah, I really do need to be everywhere if my goal is to get to the bag. But going back to what I was talking about with growth, now that I've basically decided like, okay, I'm going to open up my content creation and put myself back on Instagram, put myself back on TikTok. With Instagram, I've actually decided to start a whole new page. And that's something we could talk about later. But I'm literally going to start from zero on Instagram. But it's been a learning lesson for me because, you know, when you're learning about how to grow on social media, how to grow an audience and things like that, there are a lot of sort of like standard rules, right? One of them being, you know, choose a niche, even though that's kind of being phased out, but it's still kind of there, right? And if it's not choose a niche, it's clearly identify your audience, describe exactly who your target audience is, and then make content for them. And those are two of the things that I've struggled with in this journey for so long. And I know there's a lot of other people that have struggled with it too, like just people that I know personally that I've spoken to. So I can imagine that it might be a struggle for a lot of people. But I think what I'm realizing is that in my case, or in that case, the barrier to growth isn't because you're not, you're finding it challenging to clearly identify your audience, or you're finding it challenging to sort of put yourself into this box. I think for some of us, the way that we are meant to grow on social media or to grow our audience, grow our platform is really just by being us. So like for some people, literally just showing up as you is really enough. Like sometimes people just want to see your face. Sometimes it's really as simple as like, when people say when you're walking down the streets, just smile at someone because you don't know what it can do for their day. Like sometimes it really is that simple. Someone just wants to see you smile specifically. Maybe you have a gap like them and it makes them happy to see you smiling with your gap and confident about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think for the longest time, I've been making it so complicated because that's how I've been conditioned and trained, right? Like, growing up, everything was about, I'm gonna work as hard as I can so I can get to this Ivy League school, so I can take care of my immigrant parents, and we can all be successful and secure and safe. The problem is that it's also created a very, it's created a situation whereby everything for me is rocket science. So things that could be a lot simpler, specifically with content creation, start to feel difficult. So what am I learning? It's that being a content creator, going all in on content creation, wanting to do this thing full time is really a process in personal development. And it's a process that's going to really force you to meet yourself and to see how you're limiting yourself. And it's going to challenge you to really like rise to the occasion and step fully into your power, right? And so I was saying that I've been struggling, and I think the thing that I've been struggling with is, how do I bring all of me to my content? And not that I haven't, like, I feel like we're close, you know what I'm saying? I feel like you feel close to me and stuff, but I feel like some of you that don't actually know me personally, there's things that you probably don't know about me. And even I'm like, it's like one of those things where it's sometimes so hard to see yourself, It's like when you're walking outside in the street and people see you, but you don't know what you look like when you're walking down the street, right? And so sometimes you do need those people that are in your super close circle to just sort of tell you what it is. And I think what I've struggled with is that, for me, it's like, oh, so you mean like just me existing? Like just me being here with you? Like that's the special thing, And obviously, yeah, I know it's the quirks. I know it's the random things I might say. Or how I say it. It's really how I say it. Cause I'll be like, I don't know that I've been saying anything that profound, which is also part of the problem too, right? Like this is another thing that I've been noticing, and is that the places that you've been reluctant to like fully own about yourself, because you have doubts, or I guess maybe even imposter syndrome, like you're gonna really be called to own them because that's the only way that you're gonna grow. And so that's what I've been realizing. Like I've been frustrated with like the growth with this and that, and it's like, girl, it's because like the parts of you that everybody loves so much, you're like hiding them. Like even when I think about my vlogs, one of the things that I'm going to be working on in the next few vlogs, maybe not the next one, but the ones after that, the goal is going to be to speak to the camera more, because I think I've been hiding behind voiceover and just on my like, oh, but I'm an artist and I want to tell a story, and I feel like narrating makes it more of a story, right? Which is like, it's true, it works, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like, there's more that I can offer. Like, why not do narration and talking to the camera, although that's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It will be worth it. But anyway, sorry, I feel like I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but this is also part of it. Like I want you to see this so that you can know that like you're not alone in this process of like, oh my God, I'm still in my head. I also want you to know that like we're not gonna stay here forever. Like we could do this for a second, right? And then get to our realization and then actually try, right? Like actually start putting ourselves out there, like actually start experimenting. That's another thing I've been learning. It's a lot of experimenting. But going back to what I was originally saying, because I don't even know how we got on this tangent, it's that I've been noticing something about me, which is that people will see the greatness in me and I'm like reluctant to adopt it, if that makes sense, or to like assume it. It's almost like when someone gives you a compliment, but you like uncomfortable with accepting the compliment. And that's something that I've had to work through too. Like when I was younger, that was something I really had to work through. It was hard for me to like accept compliments. But what I'm noticing now, what's been hard to accept is that like, okay, for example, we've been talking about how like, okay, I'm gonna do this acting. I'm gonna submit myself to like acting jobs, modeling jobs, whatever. I feel like it's been hard for me to like accept that I may have talent as an actor. And it's been hard, for me specifically, because I'm like, well, I've never done theater. I don't have any like performing arts experience. And no matter how many times I've run into people who have that and have told me none of that matters, it's so hard for me to like just accept it. Like, the other day I actually auditioned for something and it was for a commercial and the casting director kept calling me an actor. Like, I think he called me an actor like 5 times. And they even said, I actually booked the commercial, thank God, because it's been a minute since I got some work, child, let me tell you. And he actually said like, okay, so in terms of the acting, you've definitely got this job. We just have to check on a few other things with the client for the commercial. And so it was just so funny because it was one of those moments where God was like, hey, I'm going to hammer this in your head. And it brought me back to Mr. Parisi in high school, who was like, I'm gonna put you on the stage. Because essentially in his mind, he was like, yeah, you're a performer. Yeah, it's been, I don't know. It's just been one of those things where I'm like really seeing like, wow, like you really need to stop sleeping on yourself. Because everybody else is seeing it but you. And then you mad because you're like, oh, how come I can't grow? Because you don't even see like what it is that you are, like what it is that you offer, right? And it's so funny because as I'm recording this, I'm thinking about all of the things. I'm thinking about so many things that have happened in the past that like say the same thing. Like I remember when I first started doing bodybuilding competitions, one of my posing coaches, she was, oh my God, Bella Santos, sweetest woman ever. I'm literally getting goosebumps right now. Sweetest woman ever. She said, this was before my first show. I was nervous because I was like, I have to walk on in heels. I'm an athlete. I only wear sneakers. Like I'm gonna be on stage in front of people in a bikini. Like I love swimwear, but like, it's kind of crazy. Anyway. So, she's walking me through my routine and whatever, and I'm doing my reps for my routine. And she's just there and she's just like, wow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? And she's like, you just don't even see it. Like, you don't even realize, like, and I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you just don't even know like how much you have to offer. Like you don't even realize it. You don't see it in yourself. And I'm trying not to cry because like this is really, it's really emotional for me. And it's something that, yeah, I'm really still working through. yeah, like I said, when I really think about this and I think about other times in my life, I think about other people that have come through my life, and everyone's always kind of said the same thing. And so that essentially, like, you know how some people just have like this it factor, like they just have the it factor. You can't really put your your finger on it, right? But it's just there. And I think like this process, going all in, because the stakes are so high, right? Like once you're all in, you're like, okay, it's do or die. It really forces you to meet yourself and to see like, oh wow, I gotta change this. This, I have to figure out how to get past this because it's do or die. And the other thing that I was gonna say is, you know, I think as content creators, it is normal to like educate yourself. Like, okay, so how do you do this? How do you grow these platforms? How do you monetize them? How do you, you know, whatever, how do you leverage them? And how do you make sure that you're like serving the people specifically that you want to connect with, right? And what I'm realizing is that for some of us, it's not going to be as simple as follow this formula, find your niche, describe your exact target audience, follow all these rules for a viral reel. Like for some of us, none of those rules really apply. For some of us, it's really God being like, be the thing that I created you to be. That no one else is going to be able to give you a manual as to how to execute, right? And I think what I'm finally learning is that it was never about trying to encapsulate me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like even that mindset starts to create a situation where now you're gonna struggle. Because if you're encapsulating, you're still sort of limiting to a box, as opposed to just saying like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn on the camera and just be me. Like, I'm just gonna like have fun, you know? That's my next action item because like I said, I'm starting my new Instagram. So yeah, I think sometimes the easiest way to see the growth that we wanna see or, you know, hit that specific goal that we have is to really just be ourselves and make it your business to continue to bring all of you to your content, right? Whatever that means in the moment. So like today, it's not like I have mad jokes to tell you, like I'm not cracking jokes like that, but I just have like a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts. And so I'm bringing them to you, you know what I'm saying? In a way that's unfiltered, in a way that's totally off the top, in a way that maybe is probably coming off as I'm all over the place. That's not far from the truth. But yeah, you know, I think that sometimes we're told that the goal is to just make the next video better, make the next post better, right? And I think the advice that we really need is like, how can I bring more of me to the next post? Like, how can I fully share me in the next post? Looking at the old post and seeing like, what did I leave out? You know, like, because ultimately what I've learned is like, the thing that your content, that your platform, that your audience, that the people that need to see you the most, like what all of those things need is you. Just being you. So, yeah, that's it. Now I'm gonna go do that myself. And yeah, happy Sunday! Next week we should have a vlog. It's gonna be an update on the court case because you already know. That's also why this is a big deal. I'm like, look, I need to hurry up and just be myself in this content so that I could get paid because we need to get out of this court case. Okay, I love you, bye!